Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. And there's about $6.8 billion worth of Bitcoin held by public companies. And I think this is just the beginning, and I personally believe that a lot of the money that's going to be flowing through in this way will be coming for XRP. And then it just gets down to something that's a really simple concept: supply and demand. XRP is finite. It is scarce. There's not that much XRP out in the wild. To people that say otherwise, are you kidding me? There's 100 billion XRP and there's only 21 million XRP. Well, first of all, you can substantially reduce that if you just understand the difference in drops versus Satoshis. But even further so, if you just understand that there's only 0.02%, less than 0.02% of humans on the planet have ever purchased XRP. Substantially less than that. And we already saw XRP, even with just that, run up from 20-something cents to almost $4. My friends, I'm telling you, when more money flows in, it's just my opinion that we're going to see some really major fireworks. The coming few decades are going to be insanely interesting. Now, I want to be clear that I don't have a financial background of any kind, and I am not offering financial advice, so you absolutely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just your everyday member, a Joe Schmo member of the XRP community who likes talking about this stuff and making YouTube videos. That is all that it is. It's for fun to talk about this stuff. I just like being engaged with my fellow XRP community members. So take a look at this. I want to show you this chart. This is bitcointreasuries.org. And I first came across this because Anthony Pompliano, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, within the last couple days or so, tweeted this out. He shouted out bitcointreasuries.org. And here you can see Bitcoin treasuries and publicly traded companies. So as far as I know, this is a comprehensive list of every publicly traded company that today holds Bitcoin. It's pretty short, isn't it? Pretty freaking short. And now, even so, collectively they're holding almost 600,000 Bitcoin worth just shy of $6.8 billion at the time that I record this. But I think that the party's just getting started. I think that there's this concept that I've been sharing over the lifespan of my channel. I mention it from time to time, which is that the longer the asset class exists, the more confident individuals and businesses become that it's not going away. We already have over a decades-long track record, and that's been enough for more companies to get involved in a meaningful way. For instance, MicroStrategy, which now holds, well, they purchased anyway, $425 million worth of Bitcoin. Square the other day announced that they purchased $50 million worth of Bitcoin. Right? And so the more time passes, the more people are going to be confident. And that's why it's like I love posing this question to Peter Schiff, and he's never answered me. I don't know if he's ever seen it. He obviously gets a lot of traffic on social media. But I just asked him, I was like, okay, so you're confident that Bitcoin's going to zero. That is his stance today. In October of 2020, Bitcoin is going to zero. The whole asset class, there's nothing to it, all going to zero. And so my question to him in the past, and again, he may not have even seen it, fair enough, but it's... How much time has to pass before that mindset changes? Effectively, the way I worded it is, so in another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, if Bitcoin is still here, is it really the case that this is just one massive Ponzi scheme that people can't figure out after 20, 30, 40 years? Or at some point, do you have to acknowledge that there's actually something to this? Because I'll tell you what, another 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be hard to make the case, oh, this is all going to zero. And so, my point being, the more time passes, the more you're going to see publicly traded companies and institutional investors just jump in here. And it's not all going to be 100% in Bitcoin moving forward, because different cryptocurrencies have different technical attributes and will be adopted in different ways, and different people and businesses will want different things from different cryptocurrencies. So it couldn't be more obvious to me that it will not be a one coin to rule them all. And so you're just starting to see the floodgates open. And with MicroStrategy, which was, in my opinion, the coolest one so far, because they're not a hedge fund. That's just a straight-up publicly traded company that was like, hey, we've got $500 million on our balance sheet. Where should we put it? Oh, Bitcoin. And they didn't do it on a whim. They thoroughly researched all this. And, hey, to their credit, forward thinking, absolutely here. But I'm telling you, like, this is just the beginning. Like that could have opened the floodgates, and we just don't know it yet. Because the CEO of MicroStrategy, one of the things that he said in an interview with Anthony Pompliano, actually, was okay. So we announced this, and I think it was at the tail end of August. I apologize if I'm off, but whenever it was, he was saying, just wait, because really the fastest a business could responsibly have this idea. Consider everything, you get together with the whole team, if they're a publicly traded company, and then say, yes, we're going to purchase Bitcoin, and then actually do it. The quickest that could happen, in his opinion, was 6 months. But he thought more likely it would be closer to like 9 to 12 months for the people that made the decision to start researching it today as a result of seeing, hey, MicroStrategy did this, let's research what could they have possibly considered when they were going through this thought process. Could it be a fit for us? And so from that point, 6 to 12 months. So from that point, 6 to 12 months, if we see a whole bunch more companies jumping in, that could have been the catalyst for it. And if so, again, even if those companies just start, it's just Bitcoin. What's going to happen in another 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever it is? The other cryptocurrencies that will also have even longer track records behind them at that point, the ones that deserve to have staying power, what do you think is going to happen? Are these companies, these publicly traded companies that are seeking to diversify, only going to put their money into Bitcoin, or might XRP be at play here? And what will that do to supply and demand? Well, in the short term, nothing, because these entities, if they're purchasing on a scale this large, they're purchasing over the counter, which you can do from exchanges. For instance, you could go to like a Binance US, for example, and they have an OTC counter, right? They OTC transfers on that exchange, and so all that means is that because look, the spot exchanges, which really, okay, so Binance, they have that too, like the Binance US is that. So that's where people like you and me purchase, and then the effects of supply and demand, who's buying, who's selling, that determines what the market rate is. Well, with over the counter, it's not seen. These transactions are privately made between whatever the entity would be, whether it's an individual or a large business like a publicly traded company. That would be made between, for instance, Binance US, if that's the exchange I'm just using for this little hypothetical scenario, and that private party. And so it's not going to move the price. You can see movements on the public Bitcoin blockchain, but that's not what people are looking at when they're buying and selling. They're feeling the actual pressures in the moment. But it still affects supply and demand. Absolutely. And so ultimately, if somebody else is holding that, if it's XRP ultimately, then that's XRP somebody else can't hold. And so it's all going to absolutely in a major way affect the ecosystem, just not the split second the purchase happens. And it's all coming here. And so then there was this piece from you today titled, Why Industry Execs Believe PayPal Might Be Next to Support Bitcoin After Square. And again, we want to see this. I'm not a maximalist of any coin. I want to see Bitcoin do well. I hope it does. I don't know if it's going to forever. I sure as hell hope it does. And I think that would be good for the crypto asset class and ultimately XRP. And so here you go. Industry executives in the cryptocurrency industry believe PayPal could be next to support Bitcoin. On October 8th, the $81 billion technology conglomerate Square announced it purchased $50 million worth of Bitcoin. And Square wrote the following. Today, Square announced that it has purchased $50 million in Bitcoin. Square believes cryptocurrency is an instrument of economic empowerment and provides a way to participate in a global monetary system which aligns with the company's purpose. Now, following Square, Block Tower Capital co-founder Ari Paul said he believes PayPal could announce Bitcoin support by the year's end. Since late 2019, PayPal has emphasized that it is actively observing the cryptocurrency space. In a public letter addressed to the European Commission, PayPal Government Relations wrote in December 2019, quote, As such, PayPal is continuously monitoring and evaluating global developments in the crypto and blockchain/distributed ledger space. Of particular interest for us is how these technologies and crypto assets can be utilized to achieve greater financial inclusion and to help reduce/eliminate some of the pain points that exist today in financial services. Well, so there's already companies out there, and that's the other thing I didn't even mention in this video, even outside of MicroStrategy's purchasing of almost $500 million worth of Bitcoin, and outside of that potentially being a major catalyst for other publicly traded companies, I certainly had not ruled out the idea that there are others that were already looking into this, right? And so you very well, even prior to 6 months out, you could see other publicly traded companies have major announcements. I don't know if it's going to happen in that time frame, but to me, it just seems inevitable this is coming. because you're talking about what's the most responsible way, if you're a micro strategy, to allocate these funds that are on your balance sheet. Because if you just keep it in cash, it's losing a crazy amount of value year over year. And there are only so many things that you can do with it. And like MicroStrategy CEO even considers could we put it into commercial real estate? And it's like, well, that might be a bad idea. Look at the existing trend. And on top of that, his opinion is that commercial real estate is substantially overvalued considering especially what's going to be happening in the future. A lot of remote work, this and that. Economic tumult, because like the commercial real estate, from what he said anyway, it's priced as though the pandemic never happened. It's like that hasn't been factored. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, and I didn't verify that for myself, but if he's accurate there, I was like, that makes sense to me, So all good things in time, but it's like, where do you guys freaking think this is ultimately going to be going here? So, anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap up there, but thank you very much for stopping by, my friends. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!